I have been on a tear lately working on food preparation and storage. I think I came to a realization recently, and I've been working at, just trying to be more prepared for life in general for a couple of years now. And my focus has mainly been on um, guns, ammo, first aid, these kinds of things. And I think I've come to the realization lately, and I've been, I've tried a couple of times to store food, but never any long-term storage. I've bought, pre-canned food from the store, and it's just expensive, and it's great. I think if you can find it on sale, or if you can go to a canned food warehouse type of deal, I think it's a great way to go. But it still is more expensive than canning it yourself. And I'll probably do a whole separate video on that and come up with some statistics and things. But I think I've come to a realization lately that it doesn't really matter what happens in life. If it's you lose a job, or if you lose a client, or if for some reason, somehow you lose work and you're not bringing in as much money as you normally do. And the price of food is very expensive. For me, it's probably $400 a month for this household if I'm going shopping every couple of weeks. And there's going to be some eating out sprinkled in there, a few times a month. So it's expensive. It is a big bill every month, and I think my goal is just to just be more frugal when it comes to that, and put in a little bit of effort and try and store some food for long term, so that when times of hardship do come, and they do come for all of us, I can be prepared for that. I can use times of profit for times of hardship. So just to kind of keep things evened out. So, in the realization that I've come to is whether it's a hardship, just a time of you have no work, or out of work, or you're injured and can't work, or whatever the case may be, or whether it's some kind of economic disaster. Or, some people think there's all kinds of things that are going to happen. Volcanoes are going to erupt, earthquakes are going to happen, meteors are going to strike. Whatever it is, it's the issue comes down to food. I think that no matter what the situation is, if there were to be some kind of a major catastrophe, an economic collapse, something like that, it doesn't matter what it is. Those are all out of your control. What's in your control is your ability to feed yourself and your family. And that is within your control, and that's something that you can do. You can't stop a volcano eruption, or a financial collapse, or an earthquake, or a hurricane. You can't stop. There's nothing you can do about that. The only thing that you can do is be prepared for whatever it is that happens. Hopefully nothing happens. And it's a matter of lifestyle. It's a matter of just making it standard procedure to have a year's worth of food. And it's a change in a way of living. It's going back to the way people used to live, and I think it was smart. That's not what this video is about, though. This video is about the Wondermill Junior. And I actually looked it up, and no, there is not a Wondermill Senior. So I don't know why they call it the Junior. I think they call it that because the Wondermill, just the regular Wondermill, is an electric version that you plug in. This one is a manual hand crank version, and there's some pros and cons to that. I think that power with a powered grain mill, you can do more with less effort. But on the other hand, the power, the electric version is not going to work if you don't have power. The manual version here works anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter. So the manual grinder does take a bit of effort to operate it. You've got to turn a handle, and it's a slower process, but it's a trade-off for being able to work anytime, anywhere. And there's also things that you can add to it, which we'll talk about later, to power it. As far as savings are concerned, I pay $10.69 for 29 pounds, which is 42 cents a pound of hard white wheat berries. In terms of flour, 25 pounds, let's say 1 pound of wheat berries is about 2 cups, which will grind into 3 cups of flour. So out of a 25 pound bag of wheat berries, you're getting 75 cups of flour. Now, flour only has a shelf life of 6 to 8 months before it goes rancid. So you can store wheat berries for up to 20 years in the right conditions. If it's in an airtight container with oxygen absorbers at 50 degrees, it will store for 20 years. The warmer the storage temperature, you're decreasing the shelf life, as with anything. That's why refrigerators are so great, because they make your food last longer. So say if you were to increase the temperature of your wheat berry storage to 60 degrees, that reduces the shelf life to about 10 years, which is still a lot longer than regular flour. So there's obviously a huge benefit there, especially for when you're talking about long-term storage. Let's talk about the Wondermill Junior Grain Mill here, and we'll just unbox this in just a minute. Let's talk about value. It's not the cheapest grain mill on the market, but it's not the most expensive either. It outperforms, this particular model outperforms, and I did a lot of research before, as I always do, before making a purchase like this. I want to make sure that it is the value purchase. I'm all about value. I want to get the most for my money, as do you, I'm sure. There are grain mills out there that cost twice as much as this grain mill. This grain mill is $220. There's grain mills out there that cost twice as much or more, like the Country Living grain mill, for example, which is over $400. It almost costs twice as much. And I've talked to people who own both, and it's my understanding that this Wondermill Junior will grind much, much better than that more expensive Country Living model. And there's models that go all the way up that you can spend over $1,000 for a grain mill. But when you're getting started in food storage like I am, you have to, and not just food storage, in preparation in general, you have to spread your money out over several areas. On one hand, you don't want something that's going to be cheap, that's just going to break or not get the job done. But I'm not opening a bakery either, so I'm not doing this full time. I just need something that's reliable enough that I can count on it for decades, and I need it to grind what I need without having to worry about it. There's cheaper grain mills. There's $40 grain mills. But you know, if you read the reviews on these things, and that's what I do. I mean, that's really what I base my decisions on. If you read the reviews on these, they fall apart. They don't grind fine enough to make flour for making dough. And, you know, it really comes down to reviews for me. I'm all about reading reviews because there is so much truth in there from people who have actually used the product. You just have to be careful and recognize when people are giving bad reviews, because sometimes people get angry and they give a bad review on a product that had their reason for giving it a bad review had nothing to do with the product. It may have had something to do with you know, the shipping or the company they bought it from. So you have to try to judge solely based on usage and reviews where people have used the product, especially if they've used it for a year, and then come back to do a review. Those are the best. So you have to apply different weights to different reviews. All reviews aren't equal. But if something has 4 stars out of 5 and it has 2,500 reviews, it's probably a successful product. You can pretty much guarantee that. It's getting enough reviews to keep it up. Some of the attachments that you can buy for this mill to make it a little less manual, they have a drill bit attachment where you can replace the hand crank with a drill bit, and then you can use a cordless drill or whatever to power it. They also have a bike sprocket attachment, believe it or not, that you can buy. So you can apparently run this with a bicycle. They also have a motorized pulley attachment, so you can actually hook this up to a motor and run it. And that to me just makes this a very versatile grain mill. You know, why buy an electric only grain mill? That kind of hems you in when you could potentially make this one a lot easier to use, and you can use it if you don't have power. This particular model comes with a cleaning brush. It comes with some stone milling heads. It also comes with some stainless steel milling heads. It comes with a double clamp for clamping it to a counter and an adjustment knob. And then it comes with the manual cranking handle, and then it comes with, it's got a new style of auger shaft that they've updated. I'm not sure what the difference is, but apparently it's better. So what can and can't it grind? There are a lot of grain mills out there that can't grind certain things, and this model, we'll just start with what it can't grind, and then down in the description I will put a list of what it can grind, because it's a really long list of things that it can grind. So what it can't grind is Collinsonia root, date seeds, dried carrots, and mesquite bean pods. Now the can grind list is a lot longer, so we'll put that in the description. Another really helpful article that I read before I made my decision on a grain mill is a MotherEarthNews.com article, and I'll put the link to that in the description. But it reviews several different grain mills, and it talks about some things that you should consider when you're buying a grain mill. Like I said, I'm all about value, so when it comes down to it, I need something that's going to function, it's going to work for what I need it for, I can depend on it, and it's a good price. So usually kind of a middle of the road grain mill is what I'm going to pick, but it might be different for you. So I'm going to post a link to that article, and hopefully that'll be helpful in your decision. So let's open this up. I have not opened this yet, so you're gonna see it with me here. I bought this from a store in town here where I live called Food to Store, and great little preparedness store. They had all kinds of things in there, and they're the only local retailer of this product, so that's where I ended up. The manufacturer of these is actually in Pocatello, which is pretty close to me as well. That's about 3 hours away ish, 3 to 4. See if I can even get into this here. This is supposed to be the flour guide that goes on the front. This is the toughest box I've ever opened. Of course, I'm not going to go give it a bad review because of that, though. Okay, there's the flour guide. So after the wheat or rice or whatever it is that you're grinding into flour comes out, it lands in this and then falls out into your bowl. This is an empty piece of box. So here's the steel burr set. Let's take a look at these. Take a look at the quality. Try and get some close-ups here. Powder coated on the back there. It appears to be okay construction. You can see that there's some dings in the steel there. I don't know that that would necessarily be a factor in the grinding output, but we shall see. There are some defects there in the same thing with this one. There's some dings in the steel and some defects in the craftsmanship. But it's a middle of the road priced grain mill too. This isn't the most expensive grain mill. If it grinds the flour, that's what we're after. So we didn't pay $1,000 for this, so you can't expect extremely high quality product. These are the stone. This is the stone set here. Again, you know, not the best craftsmanship. You can see some glue kind of squeezing out from around the stone, but again, we didn't pay for quality. We paid for functionality, And I'm more about functionality over form. So I'm okay with things not being the best looking or most impressive if they function the way that they're supposed to. So here's the double clamp. This is for clamping the grain mill onto the counter. And I'm curious what the biggest counter you're able to clamp it to is. So the grain mill just bolts on top here, and I'm going to take a measurement so that you can have an idea of what size of a counter you can actually clamp this to. So it looks like about 2 1/8 inch. That's from the top of the clamp to the top of the bottom of the clamp here. So 2 1/8 is the biggest counter you can clamp this to. Here's the magic wand. No, this is the cleaning brush for cleaning flour out of the grinder. Pretty cheap. This is plastic. Probably could stand to have a better one. This is pretty poor craftsmanship. Just plastic with plastic bristles. Nothing special here. It'll probably do the job, but probably would be good to have something a little higher quality for long term. And the grinder. Here's the adjustment knob. So there it is. There's the grinder. Grinder construction is actually looks pretty nice. So let's get this thing put together and clamped on to the table, and we'll run some grain through it and see what kind of flour we get off of the first use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to wash with hot soapy water these steel grinding heads, because they come with a factory coating on them. You can feel it, so that needs to be washed off. So we'll do that first. So the next thing I'm going to do is take these bolts out of the clamp, because these are what we'll use to clamp the grinder to the clamp, and then we'll put the clamp on the counter here, and then we'll bolt the grinder down to the clamp. So now we're going to put the flour guide on to the grain mill, and then while we're holding that, we're going to put the steel grinder on here, and it only goes on one way, so this is how it goes on here, and then we'll put the other part of the steel grinder on here. That also only fits in there one way. And then we'll put the adjustment knob in here. The adjustment knob allows us to adjust the coarseness of what we're grinding. And that's it for assembly. Now we should be ready to use it. So let's put some grain into the Wondermill and see how wondrous it really is. Much to my embarrassment, it would seem that after washing the steel burr set and putting it on the grinder, I discovered that it's the stone set that you want to use for grinding flour. The steel burr set is more for oily types of nuts and things like that. So I'm learning. Hopefully you are too. So here goes the stone set. I guess you want it to be as tight as possible. Well, I'm not going to tighten it down too much, but we'll play with the adjustment knob to get it to make the flour as fine as we need it. So I'm going to go ahead and dump some wheat berries in here. I've got some. What are these? These are Wheat Montana hard white spring wheat. So we'll dump a bit of that in here. Let's see what it does. Put a bowl under there and looks like it's pretty coarse, so I'm going to tighten this up just a bit. But it's brand new too, so it may need to work through a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, that's already looking much better. I can already tell you this is a pretty good workout. Shoulder and bicep are already burning pretty good. And that's only, I've only made about 1/8 of a cup so far. So this is a good workout. Definitely going to be wanting the drill bit add-on so that I can use a drill. And I bet it would take a pretty powerful drill to make this turn. I'm thinking the bike sprocket hooked up to a bicycle, but don't really want a bicycle in my house. Whew. Let's take a look at this. I'm out of breath. I'm out of shape. Okay. So that's the flour. Most definitely bread worthy. Absolutely. That is wonderful. One time through. Good stuff. Well, that's it, guys. Subscribe if you're new. There's more to come. Like if you like it. God bless, and we'll see you next time.